Well, the first point to make is that we are still absolutely clear from this ruling that it does not change the referendum result. The referendum result was clear, and the public voted to leave the European Union. That must be respected, and nothing that the Supreme Court judge said this morning changed that. What they did say, absolutely correct, was that Parliament is the only body in this country that can change or amend legislation. And that's a fundamental constitutional principle, and I think it's a great shame that Theresa May has in effect wasted these last 82 days after the High Court had already ruled that, and we haven't just got on with the business of shaping our future negotiations and our future relationship with the EU. So we're now in a position where the government must bring forward a bill, it must be voted on in Parliament, and that will then trigger the negotiations to happen. What we in the Labour Party are going to be looking at very carefully is what is said in that bill and whether it respects what the judges have said today about the importance of Parliament shaping the future here. And that means that we will want to see the government's plan set out very clearly in a white paper. It simply is not good enough for the Prime Minister to say, oh, well, I gave a speech last week. A speech is not a white paper that a select committee or the House of Commons can hold her to account from. A white paper is a paper committing the government to pursuing certain proposals. That's what is required. We then need to be able to see that the bill allows for proper, continuous scrutiny and accountability of the government during the whole of the negotiating process. And of course, most important of all, there must be votes in Parliament. She has said that there will be a vote at the end of the negotiating period, but what the Prime Minister offered there was a choice between a rock and a hard place. It was either you take the deal that I've managed to negotiate, whether it's a good one or not, or we're out of the EU with nothing on WTO terms, which would be extremely damaging for our economy. So I think what we want to see is that there will be a real opportunity for Parliament to vote at an early stage where that vote can make a difference to the outcome. We will not allow the government to take us into a bargain basement offshore tax haven that is a deregulated Britain. That is not what people were promised. They were promised at the referendum that Brexit would make people better off, not worse off. What now Parliament has the duty and the responsibility to do is to ensure that all of us are better off at the end of this process. And that is what the Supreme Court today has said is the responsibility of Parliament and not simply of the government alone. The Liberty is saying is, look, we have to construct a deal with Europe that meets the aspirations of 100% of the British people, not one group that think one way and another group that think another. We have to construct a deal that is in all of our best interests, that respects democracy, but that ensures that we are better off, not worse off, that jobs and economic growth in this country are preserved.